My guest Rivergrit from Pax Mortis, who is more known for his meme style videos. But I remember actually you made that one video that was really serious, and I was like, oh shit, he's entered the space, and then you didn't make another one.
Which one? Which one?
It was about PVP systems, wasn't it? Remember?
Yeah. I mean, I put one out recently about like.
But recently is like a week, River. Like in the YouTube space, recently is a week. This was months ago, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that's recently to me. So,
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and I thought that video was good, and it was pretty based. So I wish you expanded on it. Is there any reason you didn't follow it down, or?
Well, no, it was just like it was a hot topic because everybody was talking about like griefing at Xeno thread. Yeah. Yep. And I was like, yo, like this is a perfect example. Like, why don't we get some like systems in that are good for everybody? Like make something, because it's like in the middle where like you're bringing casual. My whole point, and it was like perceived wrong. Like Salty Mike reviewed it, right? But it was perceived completely wrong. Pretty much, and he had some good takes, whatever, and he's entitled to whatever opinion he wants to make. But my whole point was, pretty much like there needs to be something for the PvPers and the orgs, right? And then there needs to be something for the people that don't want to do that stuff or be involved and like want to have something kind of friendly, you know? Because what these events do currently is they bring everybody together, and then like you have one people playing one plate, like having one game loop, and another group of people playing a completely different game loop.
Yep. And
they just kind of merge, and everything just kind of merges together. It's like, yo, this doesn't really work. So like my whole theory with that video was like, we're just trying to break it down. Like, all right, what if you had two different types of play styles, right? Because some people, they like playing completely solo, and that's fine. And like, I respect that. And I think that they should have their own type of thing that does that, right? But then if you have other game loops or events that are catered to like the orgs and like the PvPers, then that would pretty much, like separate the two types of people, and it would give us like stuff to do, it give them stuff to do, and then they don't like collide, you know?
Yeah.
And then I think like the cool idea would be like throw rewards in there, right? Like, but different rewards for like each type of like loop or event, because you know, maybe that will get the, like, maybe you got like orange armor if you do like the, like, I don't know, maybe more PvE non-combat friendly version, and then you know, you get blue armor if you do like the PvP one, and that would maybe make like the solo guy like, oh, I should try to like find a group to like go in and do this so I can just at least obtain that armor, you know what I mean? And it would kind of like, then they cross over to like maybe doing some dogfighting stuff, and they might fall in love with it, who knows? And then like with the PvPers, like we are all known for like, I know me and my friends, like we'll do like some PvE, like just to get an armor set or something like that. Like we're nerds, you know what I mean?
Some of the most fun I had was the earlier days of SC where they first put the Idris in the game. And it was the same with the Javelin. Like I remember it was like a race between Detox's group, Bergs's group, and us on like who could kill the first Idris. And it's been the same thing every time they release the capital ship. But yeah, like PvE can be a lot of fun, especially when it's competitive too. Like it's a race to something. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But I've always been of the opinion it's like just split it up, because I think the reality is people do want a PvE if there's like a good reward too, but like a lot of the reason we go to Xenothreat's got nothing to do with the fact there's an event. It's just because there's people there, right?
Exactly. So, like I just want something to do, and that
we have nothing to do. Like the PvP guys got nothing.
And I respect it, dude. I'm telling you. So like me and Astropub or whatever, kind of like we've been like kind of like throwing fists, like low key. Really? Probably we don't even know it, but like just like I said something about him in one of my videos, and he like kind of like clapped back at me, and then he like brought it up casually in like one of his podcasts, right, about PvE.
Oh, no.
and it was like perceived completely wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also I'm like, I talk pretty hot, so
Yep.
I can understand. So I was listening to it, right? And Arcane actually pointed it out to me. The whole thing was like, all right, where are we at with PvE? This is Astropub's podcast, right? The topic that night was, where are we at with PvE? What could they do better? And like, what are we wanting? And that like struck a chord with me, and I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm completely for this. And like, I don't think, and what they said about PvPers is like, oh, the PvPers like just get so defensive like when they come out with like a PvE thing and stuff. And it's like completely not true. Like, I'm all for PvE. I'm all for like the solo gameplay, like the solo loops. I want more of it. I also want PvP stuff too, and both can survive in the same place if done correctly. And right now, there is no. And one of the hot topics he said was, there's no loops that are like non-combat oriented, that are events, right? So there's no events that are non-combat.
Yeah, but
oriented.
what are you expecting? Like a bartend
So,
event? Like what?
Yeah, like
a ball,
a
ball.
Like box. Like, I mean, you could probably do something with like box missions and like mining or something. They could figure something out. There's enough PvEers. They make up 90% of the community, if not more. So they can figure that out, right? But like, they should have events catered to that, and I completely agree. And that's what they were wanting. They're like, why do I have to always like shoot something when at these events, right? And I get it. It's a valid argument, right? But then I'm like, I want events too, but like I want PvP events like that, like are worth doing, something high risk, high reward, like worth doing with a whole entire org, and then like another org will come in and try to like fight you over it. Like that's what I want. So
yeah. The big thing for me is like, the problem is the PvP requires players, and you know, a lot of the comments I get and stuff, you know, in my YouTube videos is like, oh, if you want PvP, go to AC. It's like, nah, that not the game I bought. But the problem is like, because PvPers don't have a bone, we got nothing to fight over. Like, so if you want a big battle, you go to where the big battle's happening. PvE is just a consequence of that. So it's kind of like, you know, if you don't have anything to distract the PvP community with, or give us a hill to play King of the Hill over, then if you put the hill at Xeno threat, then the PvP is going to want to go there, you know? And that's why, like, I'm of the opinion that just, like, put us in null security systems, give us base building and stuff, and we'll cover that a bit later. And, you know, just let us, like, fight, you know? Like, let us have our replayable loop in the other corner, because I don't think majority of the PvP community wants to do the PvE events. Yet we're dependent on it just to run into players in an MMO. Like, because you don't see players otherwise.
There's nothing for us to do. I mean, and this is the whole. I mean, this is going back into a topic that I want to touch on later. But like, there's nothing for us to do as PvPers right now, except for like have a huge net of friends and be in a quote unquote war with another org, right? And then like, when one of your friends that are not in your org, whatever, in that net finds like, oh, there's an SM guy on this server in the PU, right? And then they DM you, and then you like hop on their server, and then you like bring all your boys in like for a fight. Like that's the only thing right now to do besides when Jumptown's not running, or when like any other event's not running. Like that's the only like good like natural PvP.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of slimy, but like it's the truth. It's like,
and even
this guy's
like
on the server, let's all go in.
Yeah, and even us doing that is based off something out of game anyways. Like there's no organic game mechanic that brings PvP orgs together. Like that's the big one, right? It's like the only thing we've got is putting people in prison. That's like the only bridging mechanic to unite PvPers with other PvPers. And it's just a solo mission, you know? So like, yeah, if there was like, you know, reputation rewards, you know, and stuff like that, then it would be great. But yeah, there's really just nothing there. And so inevitably we share the sandbox with players that aren't interested. And I think that's like the core of the issue, right? Is like, you've just got say 70% of the players who are looking, no, I'd say 60% of the players that are looking for the PvE experience without PvP. They just want to co-op and stuff. And then you've got the other 40% who are a mixture of hardcore people that just want PvP and then people that are open to it, right? And it's just like you could separate those sides of the community by making sure that when they're in a system, they understand what it goes by. And by that, I mean, like, just have systems be polarizing. And this is where, like, some of my recent disappointment with the game has gone is I was under the impression by what Todd Pappy was saying at CitizenCon a couple of years back was that, like, we've got base building. Oh, sorry, I think it was a year back, but we got base building coming in. If you're in a null security system, your base isn't going to have shields and it's vulnerable to attack and stuff like this. And I was like, oh,
that. I didn't know that. He's not with the group. He's not with CIG anymore, right?
No, they got him out of there. But like, and he explained, like, in high security systems, you were going to be protected by the planetary shields, your base and your homestead. And then in low security systems, it was a mixture. And then in null security systems, it was going to be no shields, you're vulnerable. That's the high risk, high reward. And he said exactly that, high risk, high reward. You go to these locations, this is where the money is, but this is where the risk is. This is the setup of, like, Eve, right? Like, it's, you go on the outer skirts, and the problem is, though,
I've never played it.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You're basically playing at 2.0 at this rate anyways. But the point being, they bring out Pyro, and Pyro's, like, such, to loop back around to my disappointment, Pyro's ending up being, like, NPC factions, a whole lot of lore, farmsteads, you know, like, non-combat gameplay loops. You know, like, all this stuff, and I'm just sitting here going, like, this is just Stanton 2.0 with, like, a piracy theme. Like, I was expecting Pyro to be a bloodbath where only the willing go. But you know what's going to happen is these guys that want non-combat gameplay loops are going to go to Pyro to farm. You know, so that's like,
I don't know.
So it's like, instead of them introducing a system to polarize Stanton and look like it was, you know, the scary place where all the sharks go, they've made it, I don't want to use the word Careberry, but it's like they've made it, I mean,
I don't know, man.
Like, they've lured in, like, they just did an ISC advertising non-combat gameplay loops that are exclusive to Pyro. So it's like,
what were the loops? What were
farming was the big one, and then there was
like farming, like crops, or like you talking farming like
like I don't know how exactly it worked, but they talked about,
I'm not
like,
gonna lie, man,
and stuff.
If they're like, if there's people farming in Pyro, I'm gonna kill every one of them. Like, that's just gonna be my main game loop or something.
And that's the thing,
It'd be
right?
so easy. Like, there's like, what?
Like, I would expect non-combat gameplay loops and content to exist in the safer systems, and then, you know, the outside non-lawful systems to be just a wild west bloodbath, right?
Yep,
like,
it is going to be. And even if people are going there to farm, like, certain types of guns or ammo or, like, armor, right? I mean, I'm sorry, but, like, I think a lot of the PvPers are going to be taking advantage of those people just for easy kills.
Yeah.
And that it's just, it is what it is, you know?
And then the problem is like, that just keeps this argument going, right? Which is just like, you go Spectrum every day. Every time they do an event, they're complaining about PvP. And then the PvP players are complaining about the PvE players. It's like, I guess my issue is, like, we don't get any closer to solving that issue because you're going to bring in a bunch of PvE players to Pyro and mix them with the PvPers, except the shackles are off the PvPers because of the crime stat and stuff. So, like, there's going to be even more.
Like, when Pyro comes out, everybody and their mother's going to go there. Every PvE, every solo player, they're going to be checking it out. They're going to be in their carrack. They're going to have, like, their carrack, like, drinks on the carrack is all laid out. Like, it's going to be, they're going to spend hours of prep, you know? And there's going to be a bunch of PvPers that are not even in, like, major PvP orgs, but just random orgs. And
I don't think the PvP
be killing, like, everybody here.
Like, imagine, like, Pyro comes out. What does day one of Pyro look like? It looks like the PvP is going through the gate, and then just sitting there waiting, like, because
I
they don't
still
need
don't know
the
how that's gonna
system,
be.
they just need players, right? So it's like, is that what the PvPers are just never even going to
Here's
go
another
into
topic.
Pyro? They're going to just stay at the gate. Go ahead.
I think another topic that is not understood by and Esper knows this, and Griefernet, but another topic that a lot of people don't understand that are like PvEers or like is like his group Griefernet, right? They hunt events, they hunt, you know, mainly they hunt events. That's like pretty much what they do, right?
Yep.
They are like people are saying like, oh well, the griefing's gonna stop when Pyro's out because then that's where all the PvPers are gonna be, right? It's like, no, it's not really true. Like, if you're pirating, this goes with Griefernet, this goes with pirates, right? If you're pirating, like you're gonna go where the people are, right?
Yeah,
Like it's not like, oh, I PvP, I'm gonna stay in Pyro. No, you're gonna if there's a good route that like ends in, you know, Crusader, right? Like people are gonna be at Crusader hunting those traders. You know what I mean? And then same with Griefernet. Like Griefernet, even if Terra comes out, Griefernet will find a way to go and grief those people in a safe, like in that harder to PvP area. You know, because that's where the food is and that's where they're gonna go. You know.
Yep.
So I don't think people understand that. You know, because a lawless system is not going to prevent griefing or PvP. You know?
They mentioned one thing which would be worth talking about is that you won't be able to jump back through the gate from Pyro to Stanton without clearing your crime stat.
Yeah.
And then you can also go to prison in Pyro, which, to be honest, I'm kind of...
what?
Yeah, apparently, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but...
Arcane, what's the deal with that? Because I see your chat.
They specifically said, I'm very confident in that, unless they... And I remember it being like controversial. That's brand new to me. I swear they did this, and like they were super skeptical about it. Okay, well, I'll assume
prison has had like 0 updates, like pretty much. They had 1 update in the last couple of years. I doubt there's gonna be another prison.
There's a prison in Pirate. No, I think the idea was that you would go to prison in like Klesha. You'd wake up in Klesha the same way.
Wait, so if you're saying if you go through the jump gate from Pyro to Stanton with a crime stat, you go to prison? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If you get caught in Pyro by someone lawful, you go to prison in Klesha, is my understanding of it. Yeah.
What?
Like I'm not like imagining this, and someone should correct me in the YouTube comments or the chat, but we should look at that, because I saw it and I was just like, oh really? That's strange, because he specifically mentioned prison. But I think also that they were also under the impression that like it's still being decided on, kind of a thing. But I might be wrong with this, guys, but I'm pretty...
That's just
like, I remember them asking the question and it being like a really awkward answer. So maybe I'm imagining...
That just means we're super far out from Pyro because they haven't even figured it out
yet. yeah.
Like
for 5 years. Yeah. Maybe
let's talk about base building.
Yeah. So
we mentioned that a couple...
Let's look at the... No, we'll start... Okay, listen. We'll move into that, but let's start with the number one thing we were going to talk about, right? Which is what? Which is what got announced today, apparently, that I didn't know until you told me.
Oh.
It's got to do with the bird.
Oh, yeah.
That I can't pronounce.
The saber peregrine. I think I pronounced that right?
Yeah.
Peregrine?
Apparently. Did you guys know... I don't know if anyone realized this, and I didn't find out this morning, and I hope that when you said that this came out in leaks, I'm hoping you're not talking about Victor's troll as shit fake Twitter account.
Dude,
I hope
Victor's
it wasn't him.
The man. Victor's... I love his trolls. It's so good. It's so harmless, too. It's like, what is he... Like, who cares? He's not doing anything harmful.
Yeah. But, yeah, like, so apparently they announced it's a race... Well, they didn't announce it, sorry, but it's been leaked that it's a racing ship. Yeah, but Victor, like, I can't even... See, if Victor says he was the one to leak it first, that means I'm starting to doubt if it's credible and it's actually a racing ship. Like, this is the problem, Victor, is because you're trolling, you're also trolling us. But, yeah, no, like, if it's a... It sucks. It sucks that it's a racing ship. And I kind of find it to be disingenuous too, because it's like, most of these racing ships that they release are catered to racing, like aerodynamics and everything. And then they've just given the Saber Raven some like fins and called it a racing ship.
I'm not gonna lie, if it has 4 hard points, I'd be all about it.
Yeah.
If it has 4 hard points, I'd be all about it. And it had the same stats as the Firebird, I'd be all about it. I just think they could have made so much more money if it was a QED.
Yeah.
If it was a QED, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong because I'm a PvPer and I'm looking through that lens only. But if that was a QED ship, everybody and their mother, I feel like, would have bought one.
Yeah, it would have been the perfect ship because one, it's an interceptor, so it's got the high speed, so you can chase people. 2, it's a single seat, which is a great thing. And then 3, there's like very little interdiction options when it comes to ships. But most importantly, interdiction's so powerful with MM. Like, interdiction is so strong. If you bring interdiction to a group fight, like, that's it. That group's like, you've now got objectives, you've got defend it, and that one interdiction.
You also have to have your guys train for that too.
Yeah,
like, because if you don't train for that, like, you know.
Yeah, so it's like it would have been another viable like pick, and I get it. Like, the racing guys need content, but I just don't think it should have been a recycled Saber Raven, and I don't think we shouldn't have got the obvious answer there, which is the interdictor, man. It would have been nice because it's like, if you go in the Antares, you have to commit a second player to just press the fucking quantum button, the quantum snare button. So like that requires a 2-player commitment. You bring a Mantis.
Like the Antares.
Yeah, I just don't like that it takes 2 players to get it to use its function. Like, that's my issue with it.
So I feel like, I think it's stupid. I do. And I think hopefully the Zeus will be better and be more of. I think hopefully when the Zeus comes out, maybe the Antares like has a purpose. I think in piracy too, like if you plan on doing a lot of boarding and whatnot, like that second person isn't just pressing buttons; they're like hopping out and they are like being that guy that like will board or something like that. They're like an extra hand. But obviously, like in the previous flight model, like taking 2 people and putting them in one starship is like
with so little
way
responsibility.
Better off with 2 fighters.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how can you outweigh that with 2 Hornets? You know, like
I'd like them to at least kind of like tweak that ship a little bit because I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
But there's just no point really.
And it would have been nice to have like an interdiction like fighter, like solo seat. I just think like there's room for that. It would make the game far better.
Crusaders coming out with a starter ship soon. I'm so hype. I'm not gonna lie.
I just worry that starter ship like doesn't mean good. Like is my concern.
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. But there's that. You brought up a good point, which is something I haven't even thought of. Like, I wonder how the Zeus is going to play out. Like, does everyone bring a Zeus and then that just traps 2 groups into a fight at with a huge range on their quantum interdiction? Like, is every fight between 2 orcs going to have a Zeus on each side? Like, that could be like really interesting, actually.
We got to figure out what the HP is though, too, because like, you know what I mean? Because this is what other people are saying. Like, everybody's all about this Polaris, And I think they did raise the HP on it, but like, we don't know what it's going to be like when it comes out. Like, those missiles, those like big missiles, they could fly at like 2 miles per hour, you know what I mean? And be completely pointless, you know?
Yeah.
Unless you're like hunting like AI.
Yep.
So it could be a completely pointless ship. And it could be, we just don't know, the meta's changing. I haven't played any of like.
Oh, really?
Yet, so I have no idea what the meta's. Yeah, so I've been so busy like IRL, but I know the meta just changed again as far as like weapons. But we just don't know, So
I didn't know that the Zeus was. I didn't know that the Zeus was so small. Sorry, I thought the Zeus was like Connie size. I guess I've just been.
I thought that too originally, and then someone like posted a side by side picture.
Oh wow! Okay.
But yeah, it is kind of time. It's like Cuddy Black style, right?
But I just like, I really like
we'll
where Interdiction is at right now. Like, I think it's the strongest it's ever been. It is a strategy that can get used, and it does have downsides. Like, it's super vulnerable to missiles. People can take out your Interdiction, and then they've got total freedom to play their play style. Like, it adds layers to the game, and yeah, I just think that I was so certain that that new Saber Peregrine, I'm scared of butchering the pronunciation, but I was so certain that it was going to be an addiction. I was like, no way they gut this thing and turn it into a racer. But there you go. I think that might be a little bit of CIG greed, to be honest, because the fact that they just
I wouldn't be surprised if they. I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they put out a QED version for what is it, Invictus, or what's the one in November?
Yeah.
IE.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if the third one that comes out. You know?
Yeah, and if that happens, that's fine. But if they don't do it, I think that was a lost opportunity, like, for sure.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, okay. So the PvP community is a bit disappointed with another racing ship coming out, but you know, at the same time, when was the last racing ship? I don't know.
Well, here's my question too. Like, is the racing community even happy right now? Like with master modes, are they like upset, or are they having fun?
I think they hate it,
because I don't know.
I think they hate it. Like, if I recall, because
it's like a hardcore community. They are like just like the PvP, like they're competitive. I've heard of like a lot about it, but I don't know anybody that does it.
I used to follow I forgot what his name was, but I recall him like jumping on some tweets about not liking it, but I don't follow it at all. I think they do dislike it though, which is, to be honest, pretty fair. Not a lot of fans of it.
Just like the low flyers, like I'm pretty sure the low flyers hate it.
Yeah. I can't tell because there's that one guy blasting Twitter all the time that he's really happy about it, but I just don't follow that space. That's okay. All right, well, let's look at the next thing we've got lined up, because I've got this all written down in a document. The next thing I guess we can look at is, how is you and your circle liking the changes? Yeah. So, and the meta of things. How are you guys taking that in?
Okay. I don't mind it per se. I would like some tweaks, and I feel like, you know, I think that the part that I do like is I like that the fights are a lot quicker. I like that when we get in group fights, it can be ended pretty fast. It's not a 3-hour thing where it's like, oh, shit, I got work in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
we haven't killed anything.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. So, I like that fact. I just think with like a few tweaks, it could be really, really good. I just don't think CIG knows how to do that.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I do like the nav mode. I know some people hate nav mode. I do like it. I think it adds like another variable. So with some tweaks, that nav mode could be, you know, beneficial. And variables are good. Variables and anything are good. What I don't like is I'm upset about the skill ceiling, because I mean, being a PvPer, like that's what separated, like, you know, a PvPer from a non-PvPer, like being able to like 1v5 people, you know. And you know, it was cool because, like, and I'm not a video gamer. Like, I've only played like pretty much 2 video games my whole entire life, you know. But like seeing people like train and practice and like for months just to be able, and then like they beat that one person that they've never been able to beat before, the feeling after that is like amazing, you know. And you don't have that with master modes. I'm not gonna get technical with it because I'm not the technical guy. I'm not like, you know, like you got a bunch of technical dudes over there.
It's funny. I'm like not technical, but yeah, like they are. But yeah, keep going.
I'm not like I'm not that guy, you know. Who's not Amogus? I know he is, but who's the other one? That was at SitCon.
Comet or Cobra, you mean? that in the
Cobra,
tournament?
yeah. Comet, and Cobra,
Mhm.
yeah. Cobra like was on a podcast. I think I can't remember which one.
Oh, that's
But
right.
like,
He
he was like saying some stuff, and I'm like, dude, it's like super technical. Like, and I see him in Discord. Like, he's saying very technical stuff, and I don't freaking understand that shit. And there's a lot of others that aren't like,
Yep.
on podcasts or anything that talk like
Mhm.
that, and I don't understand it at all. I just want to have fun. I just want like at least to be able to grind for something. That's fun for me. Just like Bob's grind for money to buy the 890, like
Mhm.
PvPers will grind to be able to get to a certain level to beat someone. Like, I think that's fun. So as far as to answer your question, I don't mind it.
What about the org? Like, are they?
I think well, I mean, dude, you could see this everywhere. Like, a lot of players have grinded so hard to
Mhm.
get to a certain level, and then this came out, and they just lose interest.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I can't play it anymore. Like, there's no competitiveness in it. And the reason that they're there is because they're competitive.
Yep.
So they've just lost all gas.
For me, it's like
that's some people.
Sure.
Other people are trying to find the good in it, and we got those guys, that are in AC and in private lobbies every night.
Mhm.
But it is what it is.
For me, it's like I think the issue is. Okay, so you need the game to have different entry points, right? Meaning, like, it can't be like the last flight model where you can put in 2,000 hours and you're still nowhere near the top 50. Like, so
Yeah.
I get that, but at the other time, like, and I think a lot of the slack that gets is that the ships that have the higher ceilings, which are not high enough for the record, but the ships that have the higher ceilings, like light fighters that are more agility based, like, all the agility classes are always going to have the highest skill ceilings, right? But the problem is the agility classes or the agility archetype of master modes is not the most competitive. The most competitive is the ships with the lowest skill ceiling, like the Hornet, right? So it's like, people pick up the Hornet. It takes them 2 days to figure it out at a really high level. And then they're beating people that are playing the higher skill ceiling ships that aren't as strong, that can't even compete. So
there was
it's
a
like,
comment you just made in PAX today that like stood out to me too, and
Sure.
I think it could piss people off too, but it's like pretty true. I forget what it was. It was something like oh yeah, but that's not competitive, right? They were talking about the ships and stuff. That's completely true, dude. Like, honestly, like, yes, I know, like, you can't do like crazy like shit in like an F8 or an F7, right? But like if it wins fights, like, that's competitive. Like, that's the meta. I'm sorry to say this, but that's like where we're at. Like,
there's the reality.
Sucks, like, reality is like, if we're going into a fight, I'm not bringing all bucks. I'm bringing because I want to be finesse. Like, no, I'm bringing all Hornets because, or maybe like a conglomerate of different ships. Because I want to win. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to win with all bucks. Like, we've seen that play out a couple times with different orgs. Like, it just doesn't work. So
and that's the problem, right? Is like we need to judge. You need to judge each flight model by its warts. You don't judge it by like how good it is if you and your friend are in Discord and you agree to fight a certain way. Or if you're going up against an org and you decide that, hey guys, let's fight each other, but we're going to ban Hornets. Like,
that's so dumb.
Don't give like, feedback based off that, right? Like, you got to give it off what it's going to look like when people are trying to rat this thing, And that's why I would give so much, and that's why, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I had probably more fun in the last flight model I did. It was more arcadey. Was there a future with the last flight model? Hell no. But
you think last flight model was more arcadey?
I think in principle only. Like, it was more competitive. It was harder to play. But my only point I'm trying to say is when I think it was more arcadey was that, like, you're not pushing for position. It's you and there's a target in the middle of your screen and you're kind of trying to like wiggle and change direction in front of each other. You're not using head tracking. You're not flying. You're not like in a pursuit. You're not wrapping around people. It was just like the most competitive players to verse. It just felt like the game was breaking against them. And I just don't think that it was trying to capture this like close combat theatrical experience like the current model is trying to. But with that being said, like the new flight model is arcadey. It's way more arcadey. It's way more dumbed down. The ceiling's way lower for sure. I just think
it feels like trash. I feel like I'm gliding on butter.
Yeah,
like,
it's gross.
It's just weird.
For sure.
That's the only thing I don't like. And like I remember like when lasers were kind of like meta in what the PTU before Master Modes came out, and like I just felt like I was like just kind of like shooting and like aim racing. Like we're both just there, we can't go anywhere, and we're just shooting each other. I don't know. Maybe that's because I'm a bad pilot, but like.
So you get stuck in in the mud. Yeah, you get stuck in the mud. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I can't watch where he's going, and then like because he's positioning this way, I'm like gonna position another way. Like I just couldn't do that, you know?
Yeah.
So
but the problem is like if you a good example is if you went to the last flight model and you went and looked at the PAX Ran duel tournament, which was ran so well, by the way. You guys did awesome with that.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
The duel tournament, like if you go look at the top 5, all those duels look like super dorky. Like they're good players, but I'm just saying like if you were to go like, hey, you know, and grab like a real life friend and be like, come look at this. And then they're watching it, they're just going like, what am I watching? You know, it's just like a ship that's moving a little to the left, then a little to the right, and it's just shooting at each other. You're not like getting up close, using head tracking, trying to wrestle for position. Like that wasn't happening at a competitive level. And I guess that's where I'm going at it, right? Is like, it's important to judge the flight model by the way people are going to play it the most competitively. And the problem is,
that is what people fucking hate the most. And and I agree because like, this was like the wiggle, like in the last patch or whatever, right? Like, okay, like wiggling's out there. Like, are you just not gonna like everybody else is wiggling? If you don't wiggle, you're gonna die. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I get it. It's in the game. It sucks, but like, that's kind of competitive. You know what I mean? I know it's not honorable. Like, you're not like a knight in shining armor doing it, but like, if like everybody else is gonna do it, so like, if you want to win fights, you know. I don't know. So. I get that. I could care less. And going back to what you're saying is, I think you're trying to allude at like just being like hyper kitey maybe, and like
just stuff like that.
Just like in the previous flight model, and like you know if that was like the winning you fights, like what are you trying to? Are you just trying to be like a good stand up citizen by not doing that? Like oh I can't be like that because then people will think I'm this way. So I'm not gonna fly like that. You know what I mean? No, if that's like winning you fights, like it's competitive. You know? So
you got to, and you have to judge. You have to judge the model by what it looks like at the top, because what it looks like at the top is what everyone's gonna be playing it if you give them time. And that's the thing. Like at least when you're looking at master modes, people are up close. People are actually using head tracking and stuff like this. But it's got way more to grow. Like it has to get deeper than this. Flight has to be more a part of it. Stuff like that. Yeah.
I got really like they said, like I think before they said they'd make like tunings like with 4.0 with Pyro, and then they're like, no, like it's actually gonna be after that. And now I'm just like,
they just keep pushing it back. Man.
Yeah,
like there's even some weapon decisions in 3.2.4 that are just like, oh, like what are you thinking? Like this is not gonna make things better. And the reality is, I don't think the guys that are tuning the balancing dials are even thinking about PvP, because a lot of it like doesn't make sense in an essence. Like, probably, you know, some of their tuning choices they're making are rewarding bad behavior flight, like in regards to good behavior flight and stuff like that. So I don't know, the people will complain loud enough, eventually it'll get changed, like it always inevitably does. But yeah, like I hope it improves. But I gotta say this, like I want to be very clear about it. It needs to get better for sure. It needs to get way better. But man, it's so enjoyable that like I can watch a stream and I'm watching this org fight another org and I'm like, oh, someone's gonna win this. You know, like, because in the past, you said, 2 orgs run into each other and nothing happens. It's stuck. Yeah, like, do people forget how fucking miserable that was, man? Like, it was horrid. And I like to give the guy credit, but Fragner, like, you know, like he would troll me in 1v1s all the time. I couldn't kill him, you know, and I would consider myself a way better pilot, but it didn't matter if I was a better pilot because he knew what buttons to press to just troll. And so Like if
Good.
PvP
I mean,
isn't possible
that's
in a state, yeah, if that's where the game design is, then that's it, you know.
Yeah.
And the problem is now at least that doesn't exist. Now we're at the point where it makes sense. It's just got to get way better. You know, they got to work on the points that make it really boring. They got to, you know, buff flight and, you know, make the skill ceiling way higher than it is. Because right now it's in a Hornet. You aim at the pip, you click 3 times, they're dead. It's got to get deeper than that.
OP.
Yeah, me too.
Like I just hate it. Like bring some other ships in.
Yep.
Like give us some choices. I hate that, man.
Yeah, I despise it too. And they're going the wrong way about it too. Like a big emphasis I've been trying to make in my feedback is like their answer is always the same, River. It's like, okay, that ship's too strong because it does 3 times the damage of a light fighter. Let's slow it down. Oh, it's still too strong. Slow it down. Slow it down. And it's like, no wonder people are complaining because all the cool ships that they thought was super rare and like really badass are just fucking flying Constellation alphas now. Like an F8 flies worse than like a Vanguard. You know, it's like crazy.
I hate the Hurricane's so trash right now. Too.
Yeah. Apparently it got buffed, but yeah.
Also, I gotta take a leak. So
yeah, go for it.
You're gonna have to lead this podcast for a second.
Go for it.
I'll be back.
Anyone have any questions in chat before we move on? Remember those 15-minute fights with Ram where neither side died? 15 minutes, mate. Try 3 hours. Fight's finished, but the fight itself feels like trash. Yep. Why does your character have so much hair? Good point. I've been growing it out. Y'all are mad that you'll never be as competitive as Black Hawks. Yes, true. But they're really good. No hand cam today. Yo, I see Mike in here. Do you know what's so funny is dude, I remember when I was playing with Mike that I was trying to keep convincing him to hop on an alt account because everyone would see Mike in Squadron Battle or Battle Royale and they'd all just gun it straight for him. But it's good to see Mike here. Have one, Virgil. Why you banned me from posting pledge store pics in SM? I don't think you're banned, are you? You can see them all turn. Same with A1. How many nuns could a nun... Oh, God, don't even. I think, yeah, the Hurricane buffed nose. Yep. What else is there? We're back in. And then we got the
Blackhawks. I've never heard of Blackhawks.
I think we got an alt account in the stream trolling, but that's okay. Anyway, so where are we going next? We've got flight model down. All right, orgs. Yo, orgs. We wanted to talk about this. Now, you had the big question.
Yes.
Which you wanted to kick off.
This is huge, and nobody's talking about this, and you guys are all stupid for not thinking about this.
Go for it.
To be honest with you. Because and I get it. Like, you know, you may be that guy that like is not uber competitive and just wants to log on with friends and PvP. Mm-hmm. I get that. You know what I mean? You're in it for like your own, you know. Oh, also, before I get to that, as far as like yeah.
Keep going.
We were talking about like, you know, packs and stuff like that and like all the other orgs and like just how they think of master modes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this goes into what I think is important now. And the question is, right, what is a PvP org, right? Because before a PvP org, right, there was probably, 6 or 7 major PvP orgs?
It's funny, ABS. Before you guys, there was like 3.
Like, I'm talking I would say short term, like the last 2 years.
Yeah. There's probably, they're close to 7. Yeah.
I would say, like, you had like, let's name them. You got what? AVS.
Yep.
Shadow Moses.
Yep.
Ram. LR.
Mm-hmm.
Black Fleet.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty much like the major ones, right? Am I missing anybody?
Did you include LR?
No, I'm not talking about like I think there's like some French ones out there and stuff that I don't know about, like 2 Linear and like some other. I'm not.
No, that like let's round this up. Like so
orbit.
that participate in like the PU, right? Of the last 2 years. Well, okay, there's a couple more. There's what is it? Thunder Lakes guys, Blight Vale. I say
no,
they're in there.
They're not. They're no, but no, like they.
You mean like
a yet?
Yeah. Okay. You mean for the last 2 years?
I'm talking like previous flight model. Your fucking aces were all getting sucked up. Anybody with talent and anybody who is good was all going to 6 orgs, right? Like
yeah, okay then. Yeah,
PAX is probably the newest ones, right?
Yep.
Where like we had guys that were legitimately good, and we had like a good amount of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Vipera Vale was one for sure. Yep.
Vipera Vale was definitely one. Yeah.
Yeah, Grim 42 is probably up there too. I'd probably
Grim 42.
Yep.
But I'm talking like people that had more than like 6 or 7 aces. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like good aces. Like so there was not many people out there. Like there was not many orgs out there, right? And all these orgs could field a lot of players at like a lot of times, you know?
Yep.
But like, what is a PvP org now? And this is the question that like nobody's talking about. Like, what is it? Because like before, it was made up of all aces, right? The major characteristic was and I don't know about you guys because I don't really know anything about SM to be honest with you. But like the majority of people, like there was like a prospecting period. You couldn't just like, oh yeah, you want to join? Like, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? You had to prospect, you had to like show interest, you had to be a certain skill level to get in, and then there was a test, right? And everybody had different tests. But it was a place for like aspiring pilots to like get groomed and learn how to get better, and then you grow friendships and trying to grind together pretty much, you know?
Yep.
And I think the other quality was these are people that were competitive in tournaments, right? Like you saw Vipera Vale in tournaments, you saw like you guys in tournaments, AVS, like all of those, you know? But like these people, what would separate these people from like other orgs, because people say they're a PvP org all the time, right? It's like, dude, I've never heard of you guys, you know? And like one of my guys could 1v7 your crew, you know? So that's what separated a PvP org, like the skill. Like the skill gap was so large in the previous flight model. So the things to note are like everybody that was good was getting sucked up by these like few orgs, right?
Yeah.
The orgs would fight against each other. They would always like there was definitely feuds, right? And like what's the value now? Like where is the value of the value of an ace in the previous flight model was so high, right? Like that guy was like really, really good at holding his own. The group fighting is another topic too, but like the value of an ace has diminished in this flight model. And then that diminishes the value of a PvP org. So like the value of a PvP org now or previously was really, really high because it's like you have, 20 active guys or more that were all aces that could 1v20 another group that claimed to be a PvP org.
Yeah.
So like, but what's the value now? So that's my question, because there really is none. Like I was proud to be part of like, a PvP org, I would say. And that was like a claim to fame. And that was what I was, and everybody, it's funny because like you guys don't have badges and stuff like that, or like tags or like wings or whatever,
Yeah.
But that was like a huge thing. And like, I know like AVS guys, like, dude, they will play the game specifically to like pass the test. And that was like a fun part of the game loop for them, like grinding and training to be able to, like, that was their dream. And then they got it and they were like really proud, and then they'll teach other people. And it was like just a cool repetitive game loop, that like got passed down. But what's a PvP org in Master Modes now? That, because the value of an ace diminished and the value in the PU has significantly dropped. So my question is, and also there's no great way to test anymore. Like, there's a few ways you can, but like not like previously, where you could really tell if someone's improving or if some, it's not as black and white as before.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
they had to I think inevitably they needed to reduce the possibility that an ace could have, and like I remember I did this on a pod before. It's like if there was a number to how many players I think a single player should be able to solo, I'd say I wouldn't want the number to be higher than 4. I think if a group of 20 can take out a group of 100, we're getting to the point where it's a bit ridiculous, and a group with 100 players won't bother to play. Because there's going to be 2 ways to play SC. There has to be 2 ways to play any game, right? Which is where
I wouldn't mind that, dude. If it took, I wouldn't mind it if it took, you know, 100 or 200 hours to get to that level, to where like all of those 20 people were killing a group of 100.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, but the only thing you have to think about though, dude, is what's to convince the players that are 100 deep to keep playing, right? Like, so you got to look, like, you got to put yourself in the more casual players' shoes in that essence. And like, this is what, like, I take myself out of the ace equation when it comes to talking about this stuff, because ultimately I want big ships with multi-crews to exist. I want ships to be viable that don't require huge skill ceilings, or skill floors would be the right terminology. Like, I want people that aren't necessarily dogfighters with Virpil joysticks and pedals to be also able to play the game and be valuable. Maybe not as valuable as, like, say, Luke Skywalker in an X-Wing, but close to. I think that's the problem, and I think they needed to nerf ace pilots a bit. And it used to be way worse in the past. You could pull off 1v20s back in the day, around like the 313 era. But
yeah, that was before my time.
Yeah, and it came down a fair bit, like, to be fair. And I think it needed to come down a little bit more. But the problem is too, right, is if we want a game that is all about orgs going up against orgs, which is ultimately what yours and my agenda is, right? Like, we want, Game of Thrones in space. Yeah,
dude,
we're also
exactly. Like,
not.
But that's why I'm in a PvP org. Like, we're competitive
for sure.
Like, you know what I mean? We're a team.
But there's got to be multiple ways to play the game, and there's got to be different types of PvP orgs that can fit into that equation. Like, it can't just be who's got the best ace pilots and arrows. Ultimately, it has to grow past, like, who's got capital ships, who's got great multi-crew, who's got great organizations and leading, and, like, who's got big bases that are defending, who's got their flag.
Better fleet comp.
Yeah, who's got the best logistics that have the most overpowered weapons, who's organized more, stuff like that. So it needed to grow a bit in that aspect. But I can understand what you're saying, right? It's like the skill ceiling's so low that a lot of the path that a lot of people took to building an org has not proven to pay off so much closer to the end product, right?
My question is, what makes us different, right? Because before, a PvP org, right, was so valuable, and we were so far above any other org as far as skill and as far as fighting, that, like, what's the difference now? Like, what makes you different than, like, a pirate org that just has like 20 players in the server? Like,
I think
with,
you're
like,
not
missiles and all the other shit.
The ultimate answer is, I think that to
and I'm
compensate,
talking PU. I'm talking
for sure.
PU.
Yeah, to compensate for the power shifting away from the player individually, I think now to have this similar success as a PvP org, it's now moved to how well does your group perform as a group. So
that is my answer too.
Yeah, I think that the value in a PvP org is how well the org plays as an org, rather than how well do the aces play in comparison.
That is my main thing that I am pissed off with the community about, and I get why they're not playing right now. Like, all the aces, all the old aces, and it's in every group,
Yeah.
My major thing is, like, before, everything was like personally, it was all for personal gratification, personal glory, right? Where, like, I've reached this certain level and I can beat this guy, right?
Yep.
So, and then the value was how many people do you have in your org that can actually win a fight against XYZ person, right? But did my camera just shut off?
No, it was me. I was tapping something real quick. Sorry, go ahead.
But now in master modes, it's like, okay, we're now like not going with this like personal glory gratification, right? Like it's all about like your org. So you have to like bring the glory and everything to your org, you know? So I think it's all about, and this is why I love, like, dude, when we did Jumptown, like in master modes a couple weeks ago, like a month ago now? Yeah, it was like a month and a half ago. Like there were groups that were entering the PvP scene that I've never freaking heard about before.
And I love that.
They were like 20 people deep. And I love that. I think that's great. I like that Master Modes has brought in new people to PvP and to I like that Master Modes has brought new people into PvP. That would have never done it before because the bar was just so high. The door was so far away for them to open it, you know? And I like that, but you have groups like, you know, Thunder Lake's group, like Blight Vale, they're killing it. Their activity is off the charts, and like all they want to do is just fight, and they have like the greatest attitude ever.
Yeah.
You know? Like, but I think, and this is a hot take, and a lot of people are gonna hate me for saying this because it's gonna be slimy, but the most scariest like org out there is going to be the org that is hunting other hunting other groups, right?
Yep.
Like the org that's like, oh, you're messing with like one, like you're ganging up on one of our guys trying to train in AC. All right, we're gonna throw 6 of our pilots in there and mess with you guys until you get off that server, right? Or the guy that's like messing with one of your guys in the PU, and the next thing you know, a whole swarm of y'all come in and you fight it. Or the group that's literally finding, it has that huge net of people who's finding servers that competitive or other orgs like you, like other PvP orgs like Blight Vale, AVS, RAM, right? It's like, oh, I got this, you know, AVS guy on my server, and then we all swarm and go like take him out. You know what I mean? Like it's like that's the scary thing. I think that is where I think that's where the value is right now. I hate to say it, but like I think the value is when the group aspect and the group play, the composition, and the aggressiveness. Because like anybody who's not aggressive, like what are you now? Like you gotta three. You have to 3 pilots that are good in AC. Like,
and you have to give. See, I like and. Right, like, look, people think I'm a master mode simp, right? Like, it couldn't be further for the truth. I just try to be fair in my, like, feedback. You got to give CIG credit there. They've moved players away. Like, they've moved all of the skill existing inside of 30 ace pilots that are spread across 5, 6 orgs, whatever the hell, right? Yeah. And they've distributed and widened it to how well do these groups perform and increased the participation that can be had from playing the game. Now, it obviously has got so much more to do, and there's so much more that they have to work on in regards to the flight model, but that wasn't possible before. And you guys know, right?
Composition wasn't either, and I think
it was Hornets or nothing, right?
So fun.
Hornets.
It's like, oh, you like finding an ion? Like, cool. Like that could actually play some. It has some worth in a fleet now. You know.
Yeah. And that was nowhere, and with that model, because the flight was exactly the same, there were no archetypes, there was no composition. It's like you bought a Hornet Ghost or you couldn't afford one. That was it. Like it was as binary as that. And so that's one of the things I love about MM. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not the MM simp. I want it to get way deeper than it is, okay? But I think it's important for us to give credit where credit is due. That way we're actually being fair and also judging it where it needs to be judged, right? And it's got some weak points, and you're right, there's so many more groups coming. And I'll tell you what too,
I love
what you're describing, which is like, hey, we've got a rivalry with this org. You couldn't do anything about it until MM. Like at all of our, I'll give you a bit of insight here. Yeah. In Shadow Moses, when we would have our mandatory org meetings, we would, dude, like the guys in chat can attest to this. and Chow especially being in leadership, we were always hammering to our guys, hey, hold on, just, you know, keep the game installed. We're going to get these guys. We're going to get these guys. Like, it's coming. It's coming. Master modes will be here, and we're going to shove our org, you know, right down their throat. You know, it is what we've been preaching to our guys every time. And to be fair, it's now been possible where it was not possible. Yeah. And like,
the crappy part is like, that's the only like game loop we have right now.
Yeah,
there's like nothing to fight over, dude.
Yeah,
that's like all we want to do. We just want to fight over something.
Yeah, so it's like
right now it's just ego, and that's it.
Yeah, and so like it has a responsibility to get deeper than this. Like it's very bland. It's very basic right now. There's no layers to it. There's no depth. But the group fights work. They make sense. The math adds up. They have to get competitive, and it has to. Yeah. The most fun way to fly the model also has to be the most competitive way to fly it at the same time. You can't make back strafing or flying to the side, you know, the best way to play it, because then that's the whole model there, right? So like it's got to grow from where it is, but like now the game that you and me and a lot of the PvP orgs have seeked out this whole time or have been hoping is going to be here now works. Now 1 + 1 = 2, and we just got to make things more interesting, right? And you know, in the past, it wasn't that case. Like, man, I tell you what, like, I've done nothing but want to like fire up with 20 of our guys and go fight this other group of 20, you know, especially the competitive guys. But for the last 3 years, the only thing we could do is fire up 20 and go hit Xeno Threat, because those guys don't know what they're doing. And that's the only way 1 + 1 is going to = 2. They're not going to know that they can just abuse speeds, and finally PvP was possible. So,
well, yeah, if you 1v20, you know, if you 20v20 another group that knows what they're doing in the previous fight model, like, dude, we had this day. Do you remember the day? Gosh, what was it? Was it like the beginning of 3.18? And it was like Ram and AVS, Shadow Moses, Pax, and maybe a couple, and Black Fleet, and it was like
It's horrible.
Was like an all-out war, and nobody like won because it was just a bunch of like.
By the time you've killed one guy, you're like, yes, we got one. By the time you've killed the second guy, the first guy's back.
Yeah,
you know,
it was like, absolutely terrible. It was so not fun to play.
Yeah, but like I also understand people's argument, which is like, oh, when I'm in a Gladius in the old flight model, it's high skilling. I'm having a lot of fun. I want that absolutely back. I do, but man, am I appreciative of the fact that if I go fight AVS, there's going to be a winner and a loser. Like if I go fight this org, there's going to be a winner or a loser. Yeah, or if I go fight this guy in AC, one of us is going to end up alive, one of us is going to end up dead. That wasn't the case before. If they go, all right, I don't like Virgil, I'm going to hit the reverse, that's it. I'm now getting trolled for an hour, you know, and I'm going to have to go get fuel in 30 minutes. That's what it was, you know, and so I just think it's like, if we can capture the glimpses of the last flight model, what was fun about it, and add that to the suite of new things that we've gotten with MM, man, it'll be perfect at that point. So, like, I think we need to zero in as a community, zero in on what we are missing from the last flight model, and hopefully recreate that in the existing framework of this.
So here's my take, dude. Like, or here's my question. Like, there's going to be people that are not going to enjoy that, even if they tweak it a little bit to raise the skill ceiling. Like, there's going to be people that were aces previously that are probably going to be done now. Like,
I'll give you.
Am I right?
Yeah, and I'll be the villain here. Fuck them, because you know, like, in my opinion, the game wasn't revolved around them. Yeah, like, it was. Yeah. It's supposed to be about how do we all fit in this ecosystem? How do we all play together? You know, and if
I like fighting in a group, dude, and I'm for the, like, if you're in an org, especially a competitive one, like, you just want to be the best possible with your group. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So like I could care less if like I don't have to train, like, you know.
It's like, what do you want? Do you want
a freaking week?
Do you want Game of Thrones where the houses are going to war with each other, or do you want a bar fight between aces? You know, like, it's like, what game do you want? You know, like, and I think that if people are that upset, and don't get me wrong, like, I'm on their side with this. Like, I want being an ace pilot to be more meaningful, and there to be depth, and there should be both. Exactly, crazy. That's what I want. I want both, but you know, I don't want one at the cost of the other. You know, and that's where it is.
I want both with composition. I think like my biggest pet peeve is I want fleet composition. Like
Yeah.
I want that to matter in a group fight because I mean, to be honest with you, like in the previous fight model, you had aces who were awesome at 1v1s, but then you had like group fight pilots who were trash at 1v1s.
Yeah.
But like in a group fight, they were like untouchable.
You know,
like,
I'll tell you who this guy was. The person you're describing was it was Jace. Like Jace couldn't 1v1 himself out of a wet paper bag. But in a team fight, Jace was really good. Like really
we have, Sickles, one
really
of our guys
good.
that is like insane at group fight.
Yeah.
Like he understands like the 3D space of like everything around him during group fights. Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Happy birthday, Jace. Yeah, he's a good guy. I give him a lot of shit, but he's a good guy. With that being said, but yeah, like I think, here's the thing though, River. I think when we are arguing about like when you see the conversations in the PAX Discord being going back and forth. I think some people want a game like I'm describing, like Game of Thrones, houses going into Eve, you know, the big picture, right? And then there's other people that are just looking at this like X-Wing versus TIE Fighter in free fly duels. I think that's the problem. Yeah. And it's like people want different versions of the game. You know, it's like
there's two different PvPers. Like there's your AC only PvPers, and there's like your people are like, I'm playing AC to like practice and have fun, or maybe I'll have a lot of time to play tonight, so I'll hop on AC. And then there's your people that like will go into AC just to practice to get better for the PU. Like AC is like my practice ground. And that's how I've always been. Like I'm only in AC to like just get some reps, and then I'm going into PU and trying to wreak some havoc.
Here's a good question I've got for you. Like, and we can move off this subject after. Is would you describe the aces? Do you think that the aces that you're referring to that have left the game seriously care about org versus org content, or do you think they were more selfish approach?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. That's it.
Like, I mean, there's a ton out there. Like, you know, I mean, just look at like Schwang. Like, nobody's seen him in a while. He's the nicest guy in the world. But like all those guys who are like were leaders in the community. I mean, I might be wrong. Maybe he's playing, but like, I haven't really heard anything from him or like, you know, a couple other guys. You know. Yep. And I get it. Like I get why they're not there. You know, it's like what is there to do? You know.
But maybe they weren't the consumer base. Like maybe they weren't the target audience for this.
My whole thing is like now it's like, yo, you have to like if you want to be that PvP org, right? Like because back in the day, in the previous flight model, PvP orgs were scary and they were good as hell. So you could be cocky. You could like have ego, right? So now like. What makes you different than everybody else? And it has to be like how active you are and how aggressive you are. And like, it has to be like, you have to be the guys that figure out the group play and the composition, everything like that. Cause honestly, like old group play tactics in the previous flight model don't work for master modes. It's like completely different.
Yeah.
Like you can't just zerg one freaking target anymore. Like you can't just be like have like one shot caller. Like it's a little bit more complex. Yep. And I like that. And I don't think anybody's truly mastered it yet, which I'm excited to see how that happens maybe like a year from now, like where the group play is.
And it will change like every patch. Yeah. Like every like right now the Hornets just got nerfed in 324. Does that mean we're all going to be shifting into Bucks now? Like, it's going to keep changing shape, and it's going to be how dynamic, you know, a group can be, you know, and that's a big thing too. But yeah, you're not wrong, you know, and that's
it's got to be like as a group. You have to think as a group, not personal. Like, oh, I'm this good, like. And I'm just here because I'm good, and I would just want to be with other good people.
You gotta look at it like this, right? When Yogi and the guys develop they're not giving it to an exclusive testing group, which is just the PvPers. Like we're second in this. You know, we're probably not even second. Yeah. We're like third. Like they're doing internal testing with 50 of their employees and going, yeah, this sucks. Oh, this is good. This is good. Like we're not like the sad reality is we are not the target audience. It ain't me. It ain't Avenger. It ain't any of us. It's
because that's not what drives. And yeah, I like the game And this is what Salty Mike should hear because he thinks I'm just like a cocky.
No, he's been in the chat. He's been in the chat the whole time.
Has he?
Yeah.
But like I want that because like the PvE and like all that other stuff, like that's what drives the community, right? Like that's the engine.
Yeah.
And that is why the economy right now, not having an economy, is like the big I don't even want to play the game because the economy sucks.
Yeah.
Like
the PU's dead to me.
Like
the
it gives people to.
He's dead. Yeah.
It's like what the heck? So like, I mean, that's the first thing. I want to work in economy, and I think anybody could say that they want that, right? Yeah, that's what drives it. So I'm not like anti PvE. I'm not like anti like I'm better than you. I mean, I don't know. So we should probably move on though, because we're talking about masterminds way too much. We had some good shit that we were going to talk about. What was it again?
No, okay, that's okay. We can move on to the next thing. I guess how's the org landscape going? Like, how has the recent patch or the recent huge changes we've gone through? Has there been any surprises to the org landscape of things when it comes?
Yeah, I'll be straight up. So the two orgs that I've noticed, right? I think a lot of people who are newer to the game, I think, are having, and this is straight through a PvP lens, right?
Yep.
They're having a lot of success because numbers count now.
Yep, absolutely.
I think a lot of people are doing it right, like Thunder Lake. I think he's like the one doing it right.
He's killing it.
He's killing it, and he has a positive. I can't praise this guy enough. He's got like a positive attitude.
Yeah,
everybody except
doesn't shy away from a fight. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. And then Spec Sniper, is that the guy's name? Gosh.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking. I think I know what you're talking about.
He's got like a group now. Was it First Spear or not First Spear? That's one of your guys.
Isn't it
First
Shadow
Squadron?
Fox or something?
No, First Squadron.
Dude, there's more that are popping up, and that's a good thing, right? Like more orgs into the fray.
Yeah,
you know,
I like it, and he's like squad deep, dude. Like Spec Sniper's squad deep with like 20 dudes every night. Like
that's good. Yeah,
I'm all about it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that about it.
It's bringing more people to the fray.
Has anything shocked you about some of the orgs that have been, I would say, the typical orgs you would look to when you say the org landscape in the PvP scene? Has anything surprised you about maybe fall off or anyone increased in size?
Yeah, I mean, there's fall off. Yeah. I think certain people have. I think that the old way of PvP
we're gonna transition to the org tier list now, guys. So if you look at this next slide, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'll give you an org tier list.
God, I'm getting over.
I think you had to transition to like if you look at LR, right? Like I think everybody like respected LR for like their skill and like their dedication. You know, you can't not shake that. You know.
Yep.
And it's not like you can just join LR, you know?
Yep.
Like, it's going to take time, and, like, you know, you got to vibe with them, and, you know, and I've always respected that. But I think with master modes, it's like,
you think that approach to building an org isn't sustainable?
Well, it's like, how many people do you have? And then, like, if you're going into PU and you want to be, like, kind of deadly, like, and you don't have that many guys because you're selective of, like, the only high skill tiered guys, like the Gucci of orgs, right? Like, like how effective are you going to be?
Ace only orgs,
like Specs, against Spec Sniper. You know what I mean? So like, and his group of 20 dudes that are like missile spamming you and shit, like,
which I think is, to be fair, a good thing. Like, I think that the fact that Spec Sniper's group even exists, for example, and you know, is something that an organization should be concerned about given their size, is a good thing. Like, I really do think it's a good thing. Like, that orgs are now capable that were just stood no chance, you know? And that was probably what was preventing an org like his from existing prior, or, you know, being on the table of play. Is
if someone would ask me, like, all right, I need you to create an org today, right? What would
Yep.
you look for as far as like your org members, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't necessarily be skill. It would be, all right, first off, do you vibe? Like, are you going to be like, you know, a squeaker in comms? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, I don't want that around me.
Yep.
Uh, second off, besides vibe, it's like, all right, do you have good comms? Do you have like situational awareness and competitiveness, right?
Yep.
And it's not necessarily skill based. It's necessarily like, hey, like, what would you do to like help the group? Like, hey, if we needed like, I don't know, just say like we needed a Carrick at the scene, like for X, Y, and Z reason, right?
Yep.
Like, would one of our guys be like, yeah, I got it, like let's go, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or if we need that Inferno pilot, like, you know, it's just not a bunch of cocky guys like, I don't fly Infernos, like I'm an ace, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, that's what I want. Like, that's what I would want. First off, like your good vibe, and then skill level to understand like the basics of like team fighting, then good communication and team fighting. Like everything would be about team fighting.
Yep.
If I were to build an org today, it would all be based about team fighting and
But
communication.
You couldn't build an org before, because like you said, is people just had too much of a monopoly on aces, and the value of aces was too high. Like,
exactly, and now it's different.
Like
you're going to see some people probably fall out.
Shadow Moses is a 6-year-old org. Like, you'd have to catch up on 6 years of recruitment to catch us.
Well,
you know, it's like
you got a lot of dead players too.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, for sure. No, we do. Like, a lot of them are inactive and stuff, for sure. Like, God, I'm barely playing right now outside of content creation. So yeah, like, absolutely. But that's the thing.
Like, if
right,
all your active, if all of SM's aces were active in the previous flight model, you guys would have been insane.
Yeah, well, no, not necessarily though, River. Because the problem is you could get a group like, and I'll be fully transparent here. Like, and I won't call out the org, but there's like an org that I think has very little, like not even close, the individual skill of our aces. And we could go up against them and they know how to stall out, you know? And that's the problem, right? Is like, we'd go in really wanting to hammer down. We'd have on paper, our roster would look incredible. And if they just knew how to stall out, that was it. Couldn't do anything about it. And that was why a lot of our guys went inactive, is because it's like, it didn't matter how good you were, because you could get trolled by, I'll throw it out, Fragner. You know, like he could troll you and then that's it. Like, you're done. So like that was a huge consequence to it before. And I'm very thankful that Master Modes has shifted that slider away from aces and more about what does your group play, what is your composition is, stuff like that.
That's what it's about. So like these freaking major 6 PvP orgs, bro, like major 7, whatever you call it. Like, I mean, it's kind of dead in the wind at this point. Like, you're gonna have groups that are gonna outnumber you, that are gonna. And that's the thing about master modes. Like, Nix will say, right? Like, I've seen him in chat say it. Like, oh, there's still a skill ceiling in master modes. Like, yeah, there definitely is. But it's like, you can have someone that trains for a week, you know, with good pilots, and they're gonna do some damage. Like, no matter what, they're gonna get a kill in a group fight. You know,
especially now, like right now. You can't punch over a certain weight. That's it. It doesn't matter who you're versing. Like, at some point, their left clicks are going to be so deadly that, like, it's
especially in this F7 meta. I don't know how the meta is going to change in 2.4, but you know,
for
that's
sure,
just how I feel. So
no, I just think we're better off for that. Yeah, and it's got to go a bit like, okay, we've seen how much they've taken away from aces. I think the slider needs to go a little bit more towards aces for a bit of a healthier balance and some more longevity to the game.
Yeah,
but
I just want a little bit of.
But I'm
like,
glad it's
maneuverability.
That's it. Some agility, like some creativity. Yeah, and I am overall glad that more orgs are now a part of the Westeros, space Westeros, so to speak. And like, you know,
I'll close it out.
Like, alliances and stuff are going to start to exist and stuff like that.
I hate alliances. I think it's the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's stupid because then you have like one shitter in your alliance that just ruins it for the whole group. Like, that's just, I mean, you experienced it with like
Perry.
Neighborhood Watch.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean? But I'll close it out in saying two things. I think Master Modes, I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I am. I think the nav mode is good. I think it adds a variable, and variables are always good in gaming. I think you need two things. I just think you need a little bit of boost to like maneuverability, agility, stuff like that. Just a little bit, so we can have like, you know, a little bit more skill. And then I think like a little boost to fleet comp. You know, make other ships valuable, right?
You know what? I'll tell you what they did,
but not valuable in other aspects.
You know what they did, which you got to give them credit for too, is like, dude, how good is the fucking Firebird, man? And we should have mentioned this when we're talking about the Paragon. The fact that thing is lethal and deadly and competitive is awesome.
Dude, during Jumptown, I was using the Firebird. I wouldn't even fire missiles. I was just using it to like stick to people, and it was so fun. It was so fun.
Yeah,
and sounded great.
You're not funneled into, oh, I have to go learn how to fly a light fighter for 2 hours, right? It's like, no, like someone that isn't as competitive can hop into a Firebird and be extremely useful, you know, and they don't have to sweat it as hard. So I love that.
It's fun without the missiles. That's why I'm saying if this racing ship that came out has 4 hard points, that's my main ship.
Yeah, throw it in a contestation. Yeah,
because like that's the stats with hard points, like with more hard points would be so fun.
It'd probably be OP. I don't want to keep harping on just flight the whole time, but like in the last flight model, it's like every ship the meta was only measured by how agile was your ship and how good was it at killing, you know. But now it's like, oh, this ship's good because it's stealth and it's got interceptor tunings and it's got missiles. Like last patch, you know, you would launch missiles. Sorry, last flight model, you'd launch missiles and hope the server was lagging enough to catch them randomly, you know. But now missiles are actually deadly. So I appreciate that there's more ways to play a game than just being in a light fighter or a Hornet, you know. So
I wish the old Saber had the tuning of the Firebird. That would make sense.
Yeah. Mate, I tell you, I always joke about this, but they hate that Saber for some reason. They are just adamant that it remains trash forever.
It's such a beautiful ship.
Yep. I even made a thread complaining about like why do they hate it, but yeah, no, I think it's good that. And, you know, hopefully they buff multi-crew to the point that it's like that becomes problematic for us too. It's like this group's in 3 hammerheads and you have to sit there and go, all right, like how do we plan to take these out rather than it being a breeze? Like multiple ways to approach group versus group content is always a good thing.
Hopefully armor does that too.
Yeah, like EMPs, hopefully they're up there. Missiles are good, like, you know, hacking loops and all that stuff. Hopefully it all ends up competitive and the game has more layers and interest to it, yeah? But no, I guess to summarize this topic before we move on to the next one real quick is I'm glad there's multiple ways to do this, and I'm glad that the direction is shifted to the groups rather than the individual pilots as much, for sure. But it's got to get better.
All right. You talk to chat to ask him about that topic.
And you gotta go to
my second piss of the day.
Go for it.
Dude, I've been drinking water all day, working on my house.
Go for it. Yo, Ghost, you gotta relax, dude. Big ships are a joke now. Yeah, we hope they get buffed. Missile players are like Artie in World of Tanks. New bomb type in Crusader Showroom 324 PTU. Is that true? CIG ready to give us rock, paper, scissors in the meta? Yeah, they do. Make the Saber great again. Absolutely. Bob likes missiles. Zhao hates missiles. Perry wants Battle Royale back. Merch. Yeah, good question. When we get off our ass and do it, which we should, honestly. We should. I wanted to get like, you know, like the Addams Family where they have the hand. I wanted to get like a shirt with that. Was it called like Uncle like Thing? Was it called like? Yeah. To be honest, the real question is Star Citizen going to survive? More and more are leaving and Dune is coming out in 2025 and TL comes out. I think people waited 12 years, Ghost. I think maybe they take a break and then come back when it's better. But Dune will be fun, and Dune will last like a couple months, like every one of those MMOs does. And then we go.
Is Dune's gonna be a video game?
Yeah, it's like, have you seen it? It's like world PvP. It's a big emphasis on PvP. There's vehicles, there's classes, there's base building, base raiding, which is a great segue into what our next subject was going to be.
Yeah.
Which is, what do you think about the base building stuff? How that's going to turn out, like base building and attacking bases? Yeah. Okay, go for it.
I don't. Okay, so who said attacking bases?
It was Todd Pappy. Todd Pappy.
Okay, so Todd Pappy, who's no longer with the company, right?
Yup.
Yeah. So, do you really think that's going to happen?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's an inevitable evolution. I think it was always going to be inevitable. Yeah.
I'm not like a computer person, so I don't.
Sure.
I'm not like an MMO guy, so I don't know. But like, when it comes to my mind, like how are you going to make it work?
So they'll follow the Eve recipe, which is you drop a base. Okay, so this is how it works in Eve, and it's probably the best way they've done it.
Yeah.
You drop a base for your org or yourself, whatever, right? And then you pick what hour that base is vulnerable in, right? And they call that like time zone tanking and stuff. So you'll say, when Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. is the vulnerability window for your bases. Now it's another org or another person's responsibility to attack your base in that 1 hour window. And then that sets you up for a scheduled event, which is like, okay, 2 weeks from now is when that base is going to be fully vulnerable at this time, and then you duke it out. That's how it works in Eve. It's like, there's more layers and depth to it, but it's
I never knew that. So
you've got a bit of control. It's not like, because your immediate concern is, you go offline for the night and in come the Australians and they knock your shit down, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, but my question is like, how are you gonna find the bases? Are you just gonna have them all out? Like, am I gonna go to like Selling and just see freaking all these habs sprouted up everywhere? Like, is that how it's gonna work?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if like Selling, but that's exactly how it's gonna work.
I think it's. We don't even have enough plants for that. How many players do we have?
Don't know. Well, like they're gonna do shards and stuff, but you're right. No, I think...
Yeah, but then server meshing, because everybody's like, oh, server meshing, you can't server hop anymore. So are we just gonna have everybody on?
Yeah, but it's
like what?
It's like the MCU multiverse, dude. It's like the pack spaces are on 020 USA, and they're selling near the South Pole. It's like that. Like, and then the SM bases, for example, Hurston at to the east or whatever the heck, and they're on Shard 050, which is lame as heck, to be honest.
I think if they're putting out bases, there needs to be org mechanics out before at the same time they're putting out bases, because then it's just gonna be dumb.
Yeah, I think they said they're working on it, and they quote unquote said like it's high risk, high reward, depending on what systems you're in.
Someone asked me about bases the other day, and I'm like, honestly, like, we have no idea what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I only know that one video. Death of a Spaceman, same argument. Like, what's the other thing? Like, Theaters of War, same argument. Like, we have no idea what it's gonna be like when it comes out, right? Mm-hmm. And for all we know, it could be another option in the menu where it says Persistent Universe, Arena Commander, and Personal Base, right? And you click Personal Base, and you build your base on your own little server. You pick your world.
No, they were pretty clear. Like, you'd be sitting inside the PU for sure.
I mean,
but do you think that's...
Like, it could be 2 years from now, and they could switch it up.
For sure. Do you think it's a good direction to take the game in, though? Like, where the PvP community is enticed to fight each other over conquest and territory?
Hopefully it is something to fight over and something to hunt, pretty much. You know what I mean? Because pirates need something, like, forget about PvP orgs, right? Like, pirates need something to do too, right? And if you're like picking on people, that's fun, you know, for them. Like, that's their game loop, right? And it's also a game loop as like a PvEer to prevent that from happening, right? So Maybe with that could be defenses or something like that. I don't know, but I think it's a good for PvPers. I think it's good because it'd be
It's like a
something to fight over, and
bone to
that's
it's
what
like
we
a
want.
bone to chew on, right? Like we need. I think the SE PvP community needs like content to chew on, and they've got like
I
we've
just
got
don't
nothing.
want that. I don't want that until we have like hardcore server meshing because, dude, if they put out base building next patch, say they put out base building 3.24, right? You're not gonna find anybody in the verse. Like, there's gonna be everybody is just gonna be building their base in the whole entire game. Like, there's gonna be nothing to do, right? Because everybody's just gonna be in their base. They're not gonna be out exploring. They're not gonna be out like it's gonna be stupid.
Yeah, but what if you can attack their bases? Like, what if Rivergrit has a bounty and we're desperately trying to find the pack spaces, and River is drunk one night, he has a bounty, and he flies randomly somewhere in Selin, and then, one of us is tailing in a stealth ship, go, fuck it, boys, we got them. This is all their bases sitting right here. Like, I think it's a lot of digestible content that will be recyclable, right? It's like,
so have they said
wait.
anything?
Go ahead.
Like, have they said anything about like what it takes to build a base? Like, does it require resources or something like that? Because that's what I want to know. You know, like what's the value in your base? Like, because if it like cost me 7 hours of my time to resource some material to be able to build,
you can make
XYZ
money off it. It's going to be passive income, and that's confirmed. And the reason I say it's confirmed is because they're gonna you can have like a mining, like laser,
that's
like
great.
aiming down on the
but like
surface
if I just like click build, right? If I go like, oh, this is my base area, I'm gonna click build, and that's it. Like, then what's the value of it being destroyed? There's no value there. Like, I'd like to know.
It's got your stuff in it.
Yeah,
all your stuff.
But then there's persistent hangers though, like, or the hangers that we're getting this patch, right? So what's that? So I'd like to know what the value of base building is. Like is the value there where it's like
the territory it's sitting on? I think
like
is the answer.
Like, because it's different habs and like you're building like different modules, right? I'm pretty sure there's different modules they showcase.
Yeah.
So like, does it take me 7 hours of gameplay grinding to be able to build some sort of module, right? That's what I want to know, because that's where it gets interesting. Because if I'm a PvPer, like, dude, like this whole, what was it? So what was that event that happened? The one that I got you an iPad for? Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the overdrive. Like, the overdrive missions happened, right? And I'm like, I'm not doing this PvE crap. Like, I tried it one day. I fell through an elevator. I'm like, nah, fuck this. I'm staying in the air. I'm not doing it. So I was like, you wanted an iPad. I'm like, I'm going to get her an iPad, and then you just do them for me. I fucking skipped out on the overdrive missions. So, like, my point being is like, if you're a PvPer and you want to skip out on like the resources to build your hab, right? Do you now ally with like a mining org, right?
Yeah.
To like be able to like, yeah, and then like maybe you're their protection, and then like they give you resources for their protection, and then that way you can build like this. It adds in so much depth, I think.
When they showed that video, they very strongly hinted at like it's gonna be bases will lead to passive income. So
yeah,
like
which
you
I think
saw the module where there was
yeah.
mining. There was another module where they were like growing like agriculture shit, stuff like that, right? Like, so because there's passive income, which I think is like a great thing for the game too. There's that,
Yeah.
and then on top of that too, that strengthens where you're placing your base, because there's gonna be some biomes where the minerals in the ground are far more profitable than elsewhere, right? So it's like, then that creates like a kind of king of the hill when it comes to where your bases are sitting. Like, is the best place to have your base at Lyria, where you're getting passive income off the minerals in the ground there. So it's like, it's about knocking, like, the most important factor for me is I don't have to keep preying on PvE events anymore to get content. It's now possible to actually deal meaningful long-term damage to groups. So there's like actually something to fight over. it gets more interesting, and yeah, like there's content to digest. You're
I think you need
invested.
like group. I think you need org mechanics to come out before that, or
Yeah,
else
for
it's
sure. Yeah.
like you're not gonna be able to find that
You're
group of
looking
people
at
that are like,
like
oh, I'm gonna go hunt.
2026 at the
Yeah,
earliest, like, but yeah. But I think it's a good
dude. Someone,
direction, right?
yeah,
Like to shift the PvP
I'm all about it.
community into territory and let us play, what we've been talking about
To
all
be honest with
podcast.
you, and I probably get a lot of hate for saying this, but I'm okay with being able to. I'm okay with the fact of like having to like grind some like alpha UAC, right, to be able to like PvP, right?
Yep.
So, and maybe I don't grind it. Maybe I am a merit seller, and that's how I get my money. Or maybe I do a protection mission for like a PVE org, and that's how I get my money, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just creates more like loops, and that's kind of what I want from the game. I want it to be like more in depth, right?
Yeah.
Where I don't like I don't know that low key. That's why I like actually have so much money in the game because like they used to wipe all the time, and I'm like, yo, I'm not trying to buy these ships to fight in like
Mm-hmm.
after a wipe because I don't want to PVE. Like I have too ADHD for that,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just gonna buy them. So like when a wipe happens, I could just like kit all my shit out real fast, and then I'm good to go. I can
Uh-huh.
start killing. So, um, I'd like for there to be some value in um materials and money so that like we have to be able to um sustain yourself like to fight, right?
You know what
Like
I
it costs
want?
money to fight. It's like and it hurts if you like die,
I
right?
think,
So
and this is like, if you gave me the job of game director, I think the first thing I would do week one at CIG, to lean into your argument, is I would immediately incorporate, you lose components when your ship dies, and
yeah,
if you
I'm in.
and you have to insure them at a significant cost before you take your ship out if you want the chance of keeping them. Much like Tarkov
Yeah.
works, because the problem is like, and I complain about this all the time. My argument's always the same. It's like, the economy only becomes a thing not when you change the price of hot dogs and pizzas and burritos, or attrition threes. It becomes an economy when there's actual upkeep, like maintenance. Money sinks being the key word. There's no money sinks in SC, man. It's so bubble wrapped. Claiming your ship up,
Yeah.
5k, like repair refuel, 10k, done. Like, and that's nothing. It's chump
I'm okay
change.
with that. The problem is you can't have that in SC right now because of the bugs.
No,
Because
don't say
you
that.
could
You and
you could
Mike.
literally you could
Ugh.
land on like a planet in the middle of nowhere and hit an invisible rock, and then your ship blows up.
You gotta
It's
be
like,
able
oh,
to. You gotta
well,
be able to.
shit.
That has to be programmable. It's like, if someone doesn't get a crime stat for killing you, and if it
Yeah,
wasn't a player, then that's it. You lose the components. Then, like, that could be fine. Or if it's like, but if your ship randomly crashes into an asteroid, you're covered by the ship insurance. Just do something like that. Like, if your ship didn't die to laser fire or
oh,
ballistic
okay. I see what you're
fire,
saying. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like
So
I don't
if
think
you're talking
it's.
combat,
Yeah, or something like that. Like, you could make it, you could draw the line there somewhere. I'm just,
I don't know. I'd like to talk to a PvEer about that who like does bunkers on the daily or something like that, because I feel like there is like some bugs out there that like they die to that are just unfair,
yeah, for
And it's
sure.
like and it keeps these people from wanting to play
But I'm
because they're
not,
like, fuck,
but I'm
screw
not
these
of the
bugs. But if you like
opinion
put more, I don't know, if you put more of like
consequence, right?
a consequence on
Yeah,
that, and these people are just dying from bugs, like they're definitely not going to want to play. So until
yeah,
that's fixed, I'm full send on that, but you have to get the bugs fixed first.
yeah. But
So
like, I'm not of the problem is the bugs aren't. I've never seen the bugs gone. And the problem is, I'm a bit. I not gonna lie, I fucking hate when people make that argument that you just did, because it's like, bro, if you ever
it's
think we're
true
gonna get
though.
there,
It's
yeah. But like,
how many times you died to an invisible
if
asteroid?
they can
Like,
if they can program half the stuff they've done, I think they can differentiate inside of the game when you died to a bug, like a crashed, like an invisible asteroid or some space junk outside the hangar, or
yeah. I
you
mean, if they could differentiate that, I'm fine
Yeah.
with it. But
And I think it's so important that they do that, because that's the problem, right? Is like you and me and everyone have zero emotions invested in any of the results that happen inside of Star Citizen outside of ego. That's it. Like if you take our egos out of the equation, like we are so uninvested emotionally that we wouldn't even play the game, to be honest. And I think
I mean, I love the game.
they can. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like the game. I fell in love with it. It's pretty much the only game I've played. Being a gamer, and I like it just for like the interactions. And you can be anybody you want in this game. You know what I mean? And it's just fun. And I want the best for all of it. Was it Crazy Sig or whatever his name was like said something about LTI. It's like none of this is gonna matter with LTI or something. I'm like,
how do you?
That's another good question too.
Yeah, well, LTI can just cover the ship. It doesn't cover the components. So you don't lose the Saber, but you've got to re-outfit it. But even so, right? Like it's not about like when I say I want ships to lose components, I'm not saying every time you die you lose the components every time. I'm just saying like if there's a significant cost to I need to ensure these components, and then it costs me 100K across the board to ensure everything. And then if I die, I get those components back, but I'm 100K in the hole and I have to buy another 100K.
You're saying we need more money sinks.
Yeah, that's it. The entire reasoning for this is to make losing suck. Because here's the thing. Losing has to suck for winning to feel good. And that's the problem. Is like, there's no losing in SC. Like, the biggest thing you lose is like 3,000 credits. Maybe you went to prison that day. And a 2-minute claim time on the ship.
Time is the biggest loss.
Yeah, and it's not even bad. It's like 2 minutes. Like you're out of the fight for 2 minutes. And so that's it. We need an economy of consequence, I think. So
and that's why I do like Pyro, because I think Pyro is so far out. I think when there is org fights, it's going to be a lot more interesting because you have to travel distances. So if there's a fight happening on a moon in Pyro, right, and you die, it might take you a minute to get back to that location to get back into the fight. Like, I like that. I think that's going to be a good variable. So.
Yep. Yeah. And I just hope to be invested in the game, man, like in the results. Like, I hope to have good days and bad days, times where you lose, times where you win. I want winning to feel incredible, losing to suck, and that has to be polarizing, in my opinion. And that can vary. The last subject I had, which I wanted to cover, we mentioned a few before, but we'll just wrap up with this one because we're getting long over. The big one is the one question I wanted to run by you, and I think you know where this is going. Do you think the way that CIG are policing the rules in regards to PvP is an issue? So you know where the elephant in the room.
Give me an example,
though. GN hitting experience, for example. Do you worry about do you think that they're overzealous with stream sniping? Do you think that we've got a concern with CIG and the ability to hit PvP events?
You want my honest opinion?
Are they interfering too much?
I think the game is so simple in the current stage that is why it's getting so much heat. That's why those guys are getting so much heat. I could care less about Grief for that. Like, I know people hate what they do and they think they're hackers and stuff like that. They're not. Like, it's just a bunch of shitters in crazy comms going out and they're just hitting events. And like they spend work kind of getting intel and gathering intel to find out what events to do. And like I talked to Esfer, right? And like I'm in a Discord with him, and it is so freaking funny. And like he'll tell us all the work that goes into like these hits, and it is like so in depth. And like to the fleet comp part where like they're spending like XYZ money to go all buy like XYZ ship and like kit it out a certain way, and then they're like they have a certain fleet comp they'll bring in, and then they're like they like plan it all out to the T. I think that's great, right? Like that's part of like the game. Like it's like you never know what's gonna happen. Anything could happen. We're all free to do whatever we want, right? Stream sniping, I don't think that's cool. Like, I mean,
it's weird,
I'm not
right?
like
Because it's like,
it's weird because like you're broadcasting like where you are. You should be able to like you should expect something. You know,
and this
you're always
is,
gonna have shitters.
and
But
this is
those
why.
people, I don't know. I'm gray on the area. I don't want like I don't really care. I don't care for it. I don't do it. You know what I mean?
I'm great too, but it's like there's times where it's weird and there's times where it's not.
Yeah.
It's like if it's, for example, random example here, okay? Don't tie me to any of this, but like Astropub's bartending at Grimhanks. I don't care to pull out a pistol and shoot him in the head. You know, like I don't care if for example, I don't know, Ghost Cursed, for example, is mining at Lyria with his stream of 2,000 people. I'm not going to go there in a Saber and kill him. Like, to me, it's like, that's just, you're trolling at that point. But then there's the other side of this where it's like, how awkward is it if I'm streaming and I've got 30 guys with me and then you've got a guy in the server that's picked up my bounty and going, yo, SM's here, let's go hit them. But he's streaming, this is weird. You know, so it's like, I think it depends on where it's happening and who is involved, right? And the problem I have is like the people that have ever got punished by NSC for this stuff have usually been dabbling with dudes that are like so uninterested in it, right? And I don't want them to be protected. I don't but I also don't think they are protected. Because, you know, and I think a lot of people would have everyone convince everyone in the Star Citizen community that we have a issue with CIG refereeing PvP. A good example is we hit Nova.
I think the only reason they're doing that is because the game's not developed enough. Like, it's so like if they had things for PvPers to do, we wouldn't really give a fuck. Like you'd only have the Griefernet guys going after other people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. I don't think the game's developed enough.
Yep. I just think it's like
that's the issue.
It's like if CIG took these security tier systems seriously, it's like just make like, you know, stream sniping open season in the null security systems. You fly into a null security system that isn't lawful and you're streaming, you are at the mercy of whatever the heck happens to you. And then in Stanton, it's you know, moderated to a degree and it's like it's weighed up. You know, it's like, what were you doing at the time? You know, how did they find you? Like, you know, what were you doing? Stuff like that. And then if it's in high security, it's just a huge no-no. Because it's like, do I have a massive issue with CIG refereeing PvP? Absolutely. Like, if I had $1 for every time Avengers told me I'm stream sniping, like, I'd be retired.
Jesus.
But with that being said, you know, it's like, because I know it's ridiculous. It's like the guy's got a bounty, you know, half his org has us on their friends list, and or I'm just going into squadron battle. You know, like just because you're streaming doesn't mean I'm stream sniping if we're going into combat. I'm interested in PvPing against people and organizations all the time. So it's like,
well, also if you have a big name, people are going after you.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's like it
is what it is. It doesn't matter if you're streaming or not.
Yeah. So but
if you talk a lot of shit, people are gonna go after you. Like,
and I just haven't.
It's just that's how it is.
I haven't seen anyone get punished, you know, since years and years ago. Because for context, SM all got a warning about stream sniping, and the subject of the tickets were excessive PvP, which they walked back, by the way. They're like, hey, that was an error. But
that was a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah,
that was like 2 years ago.
And we've been naughty since, right? Like we've hit events, like we hit Nova like a week ago.
It's not just you, dude. There's other orgs that I know that are all and they go and do it, but like they don't advertise that at all. Like it's a lot of people.
Yeah, and here's the question: is like, have you heard of other groups getting punished?
The alt groups that do it, no. Because
any other group besides the one obvious group that keeps getting the warnings.
So I know that I heard there's might be an Australian group that is like kind of like the Australian like Griefernet. I could be completely wrong here, but like they're like different country, whatever. They're not US. I heard they get banged a lot, but like as far as like other people than GN, not really, you know.
And
And
that's
there's like
always been
other
my case on
major
it.
popular like billboard orgs that do this, but they
Mhm.
do it on alts. But they don't get like pinged for it because like nobody like
They're
they
not
don't
doing
have a
enough
record of it. They're
damage.
not
Yeah.
doing it enough. It's
Yeah.
not like they're like main accounts. You know what I mean? So they're like
Yeah.
nobodies. You know.
Yeah. And that's why
Um,
I just like the idea of them making it clear cut. It's like, you know, if the streamer starts flying into null security systems where there's not much PvE content for them to enjoy and it's heavily PvP sided, mate, like look after yourself. It ain't up to CIG to look after you, right? But if we want
yeah.
to take that power away from streamers that do dabble in that kind of content, it's like then you have to also give them the space where us PvPers can't mess with them. Which is why I was just like, hey, put anyone not interested in PvP in high security systems and then put fucking cameras everywhere to watch how people play, right? And if they're not
If you're
interested,
streaming and you're a PvPer, you should expect and relish the fact that you're getting stream sniped.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That's just what I'm saying. Because if you're a PvPer, you want PvP, getting stream sniped brings you the PvP, right? So I don't know, maybe get better players to like hang out with you so like you don't lose. You know what I mean? I don't know. So that's my take.
Yeah.
So like if I streamed and if I was a big freaking name and a big streamer, right? I'd only go into PU when I'm squad deep with like my aces, you know?
Yep.
And that's what I would do when I'm streaming. I'm going squad deep with aces. But I don't want to do that because I don't want people knowing like my call outs. I don't want people knowing like how I group fight or you know what I'm saying? So like I'm a little secretive. That's my competitive side, you know? So that's why I don't stream. But if you are streaming and that dude, I'm gonna tell you straight up, elephant in the room. You're talking about elephant in the room. That is why the buck is so popular right now. Is because it is the ship that will keep you alive the most if you play it right.
Yep.
If you're a streamer.
Yeah.
That is the only reason why the buck is so rated so high.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's low commitment. Yeah. Yeah, low risk. Yeah.
It's low risk. That's it.
Yep.
You can escape in it. And you can do damage in it. That's the only reason the buck is but the buck is not a good ship in Masterminds right now. So
no.
I don't know why I see these orgs that like will go in and I even hear from my guys where they like we just fought in an org full of bucks and like it's like dude where are they getting this shit from? I don't know.
Another elephant in the room. We all know where they're getting that, but it's not very. The thing is, 324 might
it's
change
multiple
that,
people.
But
multiple people are saying this shit and preaching it. It's just like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, and same with the light fighters guy, like the guys who are so snobby that are like, oh, like I am a good fighter and I only want to fly this certain way. And like I have good maneuverability and it's all about like, you know, X, Y, and Z. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll just go in an F8 and like wreak havoc. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, because that is where the competitive side is right now. Like, if you're not an F8, like, I'm sorry. This is my take. Like, I'm not gonna be snobby and like fly some ship just trying to fly it a certain way because that's where the flight model is. Like, I don't know. So just like we talked about before.
Yeah.
But well, we're getting off topic.
No, I get it. Yeah, but it's with that being said though, yeah, like, you know, I think it would be nice. I think the only inevitable outcome of all of this is CIG refereeing PvP too much, is to split up the territory. It's like CIG do not get involved in any player behaviors, you know, outside of chat moderation when it comes to anything outside of high security.
Okay, so you're saying like, oh, if you're streaming in this system
category. So if you're streaming in any of these systems which are described as lawless PvP systems, you are on your own. No matter who you are, no matter how ridiculous it gets. But to balance that equation and to give
that also is unfair because how are you going to tell? I'm just going to throw a devil's advocate out. How are you going to tell? Because like Griefernet, like, right, say like there's like an 890 jump party, someone's having a birthday party and they want to do it, like they want to role play it, right? And there's gonna be like 50 well-known streamers there, right? And
it's in high security.
Griefernet hears about it and he's like, oh, it's gonna be this guy and this guy and this guy. Oh, I actually like have talked to one of this guy's friends before. I'm gonna add him on my friends list. Now I have him on my friends list. Now I know he's gonna be at this event. I'm gonna go hit it, right? And I'm going to use him to fucking bring all of my org to go kill these people. Like, they're going to still do that. And I mean, like, what's to say the difference between you're stream sniping or you're just like gathering intel? Like, oh no, I've had them on my friends list. I know they're fucking.
Yeah, that's on the onus of CIG. Yeah. CIG
So,
have to get it right there. Yeah, like I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to attack events in high security. I'm just saying like those are the events that they get investigated. Those are the events that they order.
Okay, so get investigated.
Yeah. And like, to be fair, you know, like, man, have I seen 100 times where GN are like, we're not stream sniping, and then it's like, it's so obvious they are. And I'm not making a conclusion, like they'll self-admit it, or you'll see the friend requests going on and stuff like that. Like, or people say in chat, hey, why am I getting a friend request from this guy? And it's like Gene Garrett or something, you know, like it's
I don't
so
think
obvious.
He's actually I don't think he's Griefernet, by the
He
way.
was in the past, but yeah, like I get where you're going with it. Yeah. But my point stands. And to be honest, you know, I'll never know the truth. It'll be the guys behind the scenes doing it. But with that being said,
I don't think like the bands like dude, Esper wasn't in the, like, he didn't play the game for like 2 weeks, bro. Yep. And like he just automatically got a ban one day. Like, just from like people that like his guys did something and then all of a sudden he got a ban.
Yeah, he's gonna cop this. Yeah, and like, yeah, if that's true or not, I don't know. You know, it like,
bro. Do you know that they asked him to chill out like during Free Fly one time?
No.
Yeah,
but I also know, but
legit
like,
were like, yo, like, can you like guys like chill out during Free Fly?
River, I've watched. The problem is too, though, is like I've watched him relentlessly stream snipe Salty Mike over and over while he's mining in the middle of nowhere.
I'm not for that.
And then he's in his Twitch chat going, "I'm stripping sniping you because I can." Like, so like it's like you can't be like, "Oh, I'm playing legit," and then I have a vivid memory of him trolling Mike and Mike going, "Why is not like, what is this?"
You know what?
Trying to prove a point, like, so.
I think that is a problem of not being able to manage your members well, because he could make a very solid group that attacks orgs and does the whole thing, right?
Yep.
But doesn't do the streams because they don't hack, right? Like,
true.
From what I know, they don't hack.
Yeah.
But the only sus thing that they do is pretty much stream snipe, right? And they could make a solid org off of just like being like abiding by the rules, but just kind of just hitting events. Like, and then what is CIG gonna do? It's kind of gray, you know? So the only shitty part is like when you have a guy like Summit, and this is what I didn't like, is like, dude, you're freaking ramming.
Didn't he get clipped? Like, didn't they go after him? They went after him, right?
Yeah, they went after Summit. I saw a clip of I don't know if it was one of their guys or not, of like Summit getting rammed, right?
But was that GN? Was it?
It might have been. It might have been Gene, but I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just like, dude, like this guy's bringing so many people to the freaking game, like, and also Summit is like kind of like PvP, like he's like.
He's not going to complain about it as heavy. Yeah.
No, like
he's not asking for people to get banned.
Like, oh, there's a ship show, I'm gonna go and kill people. Like that's like that's the kind of person someone is. Yeah. So like, it's just shitty to see that. You know what I mean? Because like he's playing the game. I've known someone because like the only other game I played, which is kind of cheesy, and I'm like super against anime and shit. You know. Is Sea of Thieves. Like that's the only other game I've played, you know?
Okay, yeah.
And Sea of Thieves, like Summit was on Sea of Thieves and he'd just be a straight like Chad PvP.
Yeah.
Hiding, like
no,
doing,
he's super
like, tricks
based
on people. Yeah. So like that's that's kind of what GrieferNet's doing, low key, you know,
Mhm.
just in different ways. But yeah, I think it's a group management thing.
It's
Where
just
it's like,
hard
I
to
don't,
like
maybe
wash
they don't.
that stain off him too, like off them as well, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're the guys who broke all the rules and then we turned good. It's like, and the problem I have with it personally, and like, you know, is that I got this whole spiel from them about like, hey, like we hit these guys, we never did anything, and then a week later, Arc VR, you know, we don't have to go down the rabbit hole of discussing
Oh
it,
my
but
god.
Arc VR drops a video
I
with the
like the guy. He's a
text.
nice guy, actually.
He drops a video with the text logs proving that they were sniping the whole time. So it's just like, oh, so you guys are just telling me you didn't, and you want sympathy, and you want
Yeah.
me to root for you, and then you were actually just sniping the whole
Well, this is
time.
what I'm saying is like, if they were able to manage their whole entire group better and still
Yeah,
do what they do,
sure.
that would be OP as fuck.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'm
But
all for hitting events. I'm all for
yeah,
streamers
I don't
getting
mind it.
into the big clashes and stuff, and for sure. And I think ultimately for the PvP, I think CIG need to stop refereeing PvP. But the problem is I just don't think the issue we've had the last couple of years is them refereeing PvP. It's just them refereeing and all harassing dudes not
Yeah.
interested in PvP.
Well, I've actually, speaking on the topic, I heard they like redid, or yeah, I think they redid like like the pad ramming rule or
Oh,
whatever.
really? Okay.
Yeah. I can't remember. I don't want to
You
say
can't
anything
attack people
incorrect,
on
but
pads or something?
no, it's like if you are someone clipped a comment, I think, of a CIG member saying something about like if you are actively shooting someone in like a armistice zone, and they're like in a pad or a hangar or something like that, like that's an automatic ban. I can't remember. So
Yeah, I don't know.
um
Don't know.
yeah, it was way different than like anything they've ever said. And it was, wow, that's pretty direct. It kind
I've
of freaked me.
always
Yeah.
I've always assumed that if they were inside the hangar, like I just wouldn't roll the dice on it,
Yeah,
like myself.
same
It's
here.
not a huge
Yeah.
consequence to me, but like if we're talking about just orbiting a station that has turrets and
It,
missiles, then I'd be like pushing back on CIG, being like, no,
if
like
you're
no,
like running and you're in the hangar, like that's a W.
yeah,
That's just how I see it.
yeah, yeah.
Um
But hopefully, like either
also,
way, or you know,
yeah.
when I feel like if I feel like CIG getting overzealous with this stuff and like crossing a line, I'd absolutely speak up, like I have in the past for sure. But I just don't think we're there yet.
I think we'll find out during Pyro. I
Yeah,
think that's what we're
yeah,
gonna find out, because that is going to be where both game loops collide,
yeah,
PvE and PvP.
yeah,
I mean, all the pirates are gonna be active. You know what I mean? All the PvPers are gonna be active. Um, and this is the funny thing, dude, because like you think about it now, right? Like before, the real PvPers, like the threats, like they'd mainly be in AC, right?
yeah,
Like trying to fight other PvPers, and then like when they got bored and they want to hang out, like they'll go to the PU, you know.
yeah.
But in Pyro, like everybody, like those guys are out now. Pyro's going to be coming in, and there's not really much for PvPers to do except for
No, it's much more of the
PvP. The
same
other,
with a different
yeah,
backdrop. like the
like
stars look different.
so I like like honestly, like when Pyro comes out, it's gonna be. I do think it's gonna be a bloodbath. I think there's gonna be a shit ton of like fights. Like they mentioned this new asteroid thing,
Yeah,
the
the
asteroid base
contested
and
bases,
stuff.
that'll be great.
Yeah, like
Really
dude,
looking
that's
forward
gonna
to
be.
that.
That has the opportunity to be so good, and honestly, I hope they do Jumptown on one of them. Because can you imagine Jumptown EVAing, like
Yeah.
an EVA Jumptown?
Yep.
That'd be
Yep.
kind of wild, bro. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Add some variables.
Yeah.
So, um, I just I think there's gonna be a lot of PvPers. That well, I think there's been a lot of new PvPers that have entered the game, right?
Yep.
Um, and because the bar is set so low, like you look at Spec Snipers group, you look at like Thunder Lakes group, you know what I mean? And they're good guys now, but like,
Yep. No,
um,
groups that have had the chance now to
yeah,
establish some ground. Yeah, for sure.
I think like half those guys in the previous flight model, it would have taken them 6 months to reach the level that like the aces are at.
Yep.
Um, but but now it's like, all right, the game's changed. So you put all those guys who are PU mains, mind you, they're PU mains, into the PU with PvEers exploring a new system, and it's just gonna be a bloodbath like that.
Yep.
That's
And I
what Pyro's
think
gonna be.
people are walking into Pyro, and rightfully so, to be fair. Like, they've waited 5 years. Stanton has gotten very stale. So, like, I don't blame people not interested in PvP for going to Pyro. It's much their system as it is the PvP is. But I don't think they're, like you said, aware of just how hungry the PvP community is when it comes to Pyro. The PvP community's impression of Pyro is fresh meat. Like, and then the PvE community's opinion of Pyro is fresh content, but they don't realize they're also the meat in this. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. A lot of drama coming in that regard, I think.
I think Pirates are going to be really happy because, like, because things are, and hopefully they make it so you have to travel between systems to make some hardcore money. I hope that's the fact, right?
I hear I hear that their reward system at the same time as Pyro is going to get really significant. Like, that's been the emphasis of what I've heard. Like, rewards is going to play a big part in that patch. So whether that's like legendary weapons, like, you know, tiers of loot and stuff, we'll see. But yeah, like, I'm hopeful that Pyro
I hope piracy gets a boost, because right now there's nothing to do in piracy, and it's such an awesome gameplay loop, you know, and just doing it right, like not doing it right, but like pirating people is so fun. It's so interactive. You get to like talk to people you don't know, and like it's funny. It's like it's different every day if you like PvP and you pirate, right? Like you're never gonna run into the same scenario. And like having a good interaction with someone and robbing them, like that's just gonna get, like, that might put a bug in their mind that's like, oh wow, like that, I can't believe they just pulled that off. That was really smart. Like they like really thought about that to like pull that heist off, right? And they might want to, like, you know, start a group up or start a pirate org or join one, you know. I think piracy is definitely like the gateway drug to PvP in the game right now.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll popularize it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So I want piracy to be good. I think that's the gateway drug. Unless you're like a, I don't know, some competitive player from another game, you know. But piracy is definitely the gateway drug, and I want piracy to be good. And right now, there's no economy, and there's no reason to pirate right now, because there's no way to pirate because the economy's dead. You know, there's nothing to do. So
which I think is the most important aspect of the game, like to validate playing the game. Yeah. Hey, Arcane, I appreciate the gifteds, dude. Yeah, appreciate you, bro. But but yeah, like, no, I think once Pyro comes out, we'll have a real good understanding of what the next couple of years of the game is going to look like, and that's when they'll start marketing what is post Pyro, and then we'll be better for it. But there we go. There we go, brother. That was a solid pod. We're about 40 minutes over, but hey, that was fun, dude. And we did this one on Twitch. So.
The next one, we'll talk about spies, and we'll talk about infiltration.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll do that on yours, because you're spinning up a pod, aren't you?
Yeah, yep. I am. But it's going to be short. It's like 30-minute segments.
Mate, good luck. Fucking good luck.
Yeah, it's hard. It's fucking hard.
If there's anything I've learned from doing this, like, quite a bit, is that it always goes about 4 or 5 times longer than you want it to. So,
well, the thing is, you got to... So I'm a big sports guy, right? So like, if you look at sports shows, right, they have 2 things, which is super, super, super smart, right? I'll say some stuff, bro. So like, pretty much in a sports show, right, you have like your person like asking questions. You got your person asking questions, right? And then like you're just bullshitting and talking about a certain topic. That's it. It's real fast. And then they always have like games and like stats, right? Like sports shows are all about like stats and games. Like, oh, this is better than that, or is it? Or like they'll have like questions and like, you know, they'll go back and forth. So that's pretty much what it is. It's a 2-part show where it's 30 minutes long. You talk about X, Y, and Z. You get your points across. They're directed, like, not directed questions. It's not really scripted. And then you have like a game afterward that you play, right? But it has to do with like what you're talking about, right? So it's super interesting. We did a couple episodes so far. We are currently building like a whole new studio right now and doing a lot of stuff to the house. So like we did a couple episodes. It's gonna be on YouTube, and then we're gonna bring it to Twitch.
Hell yeah!
We're not ready yet because we haven't built it yet. So that's what it's gonna be.
And what about this content? What about this content creator video? When is that finally coming out?
So
because I got my finger on the nuke button to see, like, I'm gonna go straight to the Virgil save.
No, you're good. I kind of put that on pause because I don't want to shit where I eat. You know what I mean? Like, I'm starting this podcast. I want a few people on there that like I might shit on in this video.
You're gonna bait them onto the pod and then you're gonna drop it after. Yeah, fair enough.
So I can't nuke them before I bring them on. So
fair enough. Yeah, no, good shit. Well, that comes out
because some people don't know. Like I'm pretty harmless. I like to fucking shit around. You know what I mean? And joke around. But like. Some people take it way too seriously. Like I think Salty Mike thinks I'm like a fucking dickhead.
No, like, I think you've probably, if I know Mike, you've probably missed. Like Mike gets so heavy and hot on his stream, but he doesn't really mean it. Like, so I think you're probably misunderstanding him. I'm sure if you sent him a DM, he'd be fine. But
maybe
there you go.
We'll see.
But anyways, guys, guys, I appreciate it. I appreciate you, River, for coming to this. Yeah, this is the first one I've done on Twitch, and it was fun. It was fun with everyone in the chat, guys. I appreciate you, and we'll do this on your side next time, yeah? And we'll have fun with it. So, GG's, I appreciate you guys, and Arcane with the subs, River, and everyone, appreciate you, and we'll catch you, okay?
Peace.
GG's.